This is my first episode of Queue Anonymous. And I have my good friend Aislinn Lavery. Would you like to say hi?
Yeah. Hi, fans.
Do you want Do you want to say some facts about yourself? Like why you're on this podcast? Anything?
Well, she begged me to come because she really wanted to hear my opinion on music.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I was just getting started. Well, I'm Aislinn, and I am a frequent listener to music, which I guess qualifies me to talk about it like I actually know real information. And
versus fake information?
Well, I mean, my only qualifications here are that I use Spotify a lot.
Okay, and we can agree that...
And I listen to podcasts, so I might as well be on one.
You know what? That's a good point that I didn't think of,
Yes.
actually. All right.
Yep.
Well, today we're going to talk about folk music, and that's extremely exciting because that's like 95% of what I probably listen to.
Well, it's probably 96% of what I listen to, but if you still think that you're qualified to speak on it, then I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Well, first off, I'd like to just mention that our Spotify sync up to about 95%, but both of our top artist has nothing to do with folk music.
Yes. Swifties.
Taylor Swift has nothing to do with this, but we'll get to that at a different time.
Because folklore is not folk music.
No. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that. Okay.
Despite the name. It's really not.
At all. Not even close. Different episode. Anyways. Okay. So let's first start off with what do you consider folk music? 'Cause
What is folk music?
Yep, I'd like you to explain it to me.
Well, okay. I will try.
Go for it.
I mean, I think that it's a little bit complicated because when you think about what folk music used to be, the definition of folk music was music being passed down from person to person through generations in quote unquote like a village or something. And there might not be really an artist that you could put to that song because it's more like something that has been passed mouth to mouth. So for the people, like music for the people. But
This
now
reminds me of Beowulf.
this is very Beowulf.
For anybody who knows what
mouth
Beowulf
to mouth,
is.
written, told out loud,
Yeah.
around the campfire.
Okay.
But that's not really what it is anymore when we talk about contemporary folk and what it is now. Now it's more just characterized by the sound, which is, a lot of acoustic guitar and a lot of sort of soft. It's soft. I don't really.
Soft. Is
yeah,
it
I'm reaching a
smooth?
dead. It is. It can be smooth, but it can also be really gritty. Some gritty guitar.
Okay. I think it's funny because I would have never told myself that I would be listening to something with a banjo in it. But a lot of them have banjos.
They do. And they do amazing things with that banjo. It's really incredible.
Watching someone with a banjo
Yeah.
is, I don't know. I've watched too many videos with people with banjos. And I really like them. And I think that, they seem like not something I would listen to. But I think I even listened to someone playing the banjo today.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn,
I think it's
that's
interesting that, they can take the banjo and sometimes they are able to make the banjo sad. And, I'm thinking of one specific artist right now because I don't think the banjo is supposed to be a sad instrument because, again, I think of the banjo and I'm campfire, they're sitting around a campfire playing the banjo and it probably only plays one or two notes. But they do good things.
What artist?
I was thinking of Caamp. He's really good at making the banjo sound like a funeral.
I don't even know who plays, because I don't know their names. Because is there two of them in that band?
I believe there's three.
Yeah. And because, I know we've watched, a lot of the live stuff, but on YouTube. But, with Caamp, I never know. Actually, a lot of the bands that I looked up, Bon Iver, I guess, if you want to consider it folk, which we can mention, too. Even the Lumineers, none of them have a solid base of, who's in the band.
Yeah.
They
It's not.
switch.
It's a rotating lineup.
And I don't know, if I was a band member, I don't know how I'd feel about that.
Yeah, you don't really have job security.
You're, on the chopping block.
The only person with job security is the main voice. Because other than that, you're sort of expendable.
Because, nobody cares.
Because anybody can play a banjo.
But no, they can't. Because the guy in Caamp, who I don't know his name, he makes, faces while he plays the banjo. It's very emotional.
I do think that I remember reading about the band Caamp, and I believe they met in school. And
I do too.
that they are from Ohio.
And that the main dude, he stole the banjo player's girlfriend. Or like date.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I also think that their name stands for something really, really interesting, and I have to look it up right now because I tried to tell you the other day and I couldn't remember it because it's a really complicated acronym, but it's funny. It's like consuming abnormal amounts of some type of alcohol.
Caamp.
Consuming abnormal amounts of makers and PBR. So I'm under 21, but if we have a demographic of people who drink makers and PBR, I'm sure you'll find that entertaining.
So the lead singer's name is Taylor.
I knew that. I did know that,
Mayer?
I swear.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Mayer?
And they are from Ohio. I was correct. And
they grew up together in Columbus.
And they are folk's next big thing. Well, actually, I think at this point they are an established big thing.
Yeah, I think they are established big
because
thing.
I feel like you don't... I think that this band... They're spelled Caamp for any uneducated listeners out there. But I think that Caamp is not really like considered that well known. Like they're not underground, but they're not like top charts. But they're not underground. I said they're not.
Okay.
I'm not claiming that my music taste is underground, but I just think it's interesting that I would consider them to be one of the biggest artists in folk right now, like in new folk, yet they aren't really on the grand scheme of things that well known. Like you're not going to be looking at them having 50 million listeners on Spotify ever. Like that's never going to happen.
An interesting thing that I saw about them, which I was like distraught about, was nowhere near their top listened to songs is So Long Honey, and I think that's their best song.
So what's their top listened to song?
Well, it changes a little from where you look. Vagabond is pretty up there, and so is By and By.
Interesting.
But
because I think that those have been... That's interesting.
But So Long Honey's nowhere, and I guess it is. But Strawberries is big too, and that was my first song that I listened to of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. My first song by them that I listened to was Iffy, and the next one was Misty. But I think that those two songs should be up there.
And you stolen and wasted all my time. And you stolen and wasted all my time. And you stolen and wasted all my time. Oh, I hope you never get this for a long, long while.
I also think that Autumn Leaves should be up there.
I don't like that one as much.
Okay, well, maybe this episode is over before it's begun.
It's been like 2 minutes. How much is it? 8. And we're already saying that it's over?
Yeah.
Tough.
Shortest podcast episode
People
ever.
want to listen to more about folk music.
Okay, well then let's give Caamp a little bit less airtime. I think we should probably move on.
Okay, fine. Another one too, which I can answer this question a lot differently than you can.
Oh,
but
okay.
What made you like enjoy folk music? Like, why do you listen to it?
I was sort of indoctrinated as a young person because that's really the demographic of music that my dad listens to, mm-hmm. and also the only demographic of music that overlaps between my mom and my dad, which means that in family car trips, if we didn't want to have like a serious world war in the front seat, like we put folk music on. I didn't know your mom listened
to folk music.
She does.
There's no way she does.
She does. Some of the only bands that we can listen to in family car rides is we listen to Gregory Alan Isakov a lot.
Obviously. We
listen to Ray LaMontagne a lot, or we listen to Counting Crows, which is sort of, I think they call it folk alternative rock.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
They're at the intersection of a lot of genres, but they definitely have the name folk like somewhere in there. So I'll still count it. My dad loves Mumford and Sons. So basically,
they're not a band anymore.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's misleading. Somebody left Okay, so basically, this is a little tragic. One of the members of Mumford and Sons decided to leave because he wanted to have the freedom to express his like right-wing conservative political views, and he didn't feel like he had the space to do that in Mumford and Sons. And it's really weird that just happened. And he was like, let me go leave to do QAnon. Like, not Queue Anonymous, the podcast, but like QAnon, the conspiracy
I didn't
website.
think this was going to be first episode.
No.
We're going to talk about how my name isn't good enough because it sounds like something else.
Just to clarify, this podcast is not an outlet of the website QAnon. But
Thanks for
so one of them
trigger warning.
No. So one of the members of Mumford and Sons left because he's crazy. I mean, not to get political, but he wasn't like essential. I think he was like guitar or
Did
banjo.
he play the banjo?
He might have been banjo, and like I said, anybody can pick up a banjo and play the banjo.
I don't think that's true.
So Mumford and Sons is coming back. The band is not done. They can't be done.
I know, because they're so good.
I'm not gonna let them be done.
Because they were top up there when I looked up folk stuff.
Yes,
It was like,
they're very important.
yeah, it was like,
Can I guess? Can I guess who's at the top?
yeah, if you want.
Okay,
Hold on, let me make sure I have it.
Okay. You guess Mumford and Sons, the Lumineers, obviously.
Whoa, this is
And
crazy.
then-
And this is different from what I looked up yesterday. I also looked up 2010s. So just,
2010s. Okay, because
aware.
if we like rewind, which we weren't really gonna do in this
because
episode,
I don't
but,
listen
like,
to that.
because we could be talking about like Bob Dylan or like Joni Mitchell, but
That's what I'm
I
saying.
think that we're talking a little bit like not Bob Dylan.
I agree.
Yeah, just to give a disclaimer, like in case people thought we were ignoring Bob Dylan, we're just like pushing forward the era to a different time.
We said he's not that important right now.
He is important.
Not to me.
You should educate.
You should go
yourself.
with you should guess.
Okay, I guess Mumford and Sons. I guess Lumineers, and I'll guess Gregory Alan Isakov is on there. Actually, I don't know that he would be. I would guess. I don't know who else is on there. Seems like I can't name drop. Well, because I was gonna guess Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell, but
So it says the top, which didn't come up when I did my research. So it's a little frustrating. It says Bon Iver, which
that's indie folk.
he's not.
That's not pure folk.
Yeah,
That's folk with
it's
complications.
not, because I look him up. And why does I look it up and it talks about the Fleet Foxes? I'm not quite sure why. But
I like Fleet Foxes.
Before we get into the indie folk stuff, I do want to mention that Mumford and Sons is top 3. Mm-hmm. Lumineers is top 5. So that's not a bad.
Okay, so we're missing some artists.
Yeah, we are.
That because you only named
Bob
2.
Dylan was 2 technically.
Okay, nice.
Mumford and Sons was 3.
Okay, who was number 1? Oh, Bon Iver. Okay.
So it went Bon Iver, Bob Dylan, Mumford and Sons, Fleet Foxes, Lumineers.
Settle down with me by the fire of my yearning. You should come back home, back on your own now.
I didn't think Fleet Foxes was gonna make.
I didn't either, but they're really good. But they have older to me, but like they were, let's see. Like they, when's the last time they released an album?
I feel like it was 2015. Cut that out if I was wrong.
I'm not gonna. Oh, well, the last time they released any music was in 2020.
Okay, so cut that out because I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If I listen to this and I hear myself spewing false information with complete confidence, I'm gonna be so mad.
So the album I know about them is their title album, Fleet Foxes, from 2008.
Mm-hmm.
The one that has like, it's a really great, like the album art's amazing.
It's a little chaotic. It's a little overwhelming. Yes,
It's amazing.
it's very
It's like, it reminds me of like
Garden of Eden.
a little like Italy-ish to me.
Mm-hmm. Very Renaissance.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go back. Yeah, and then also they had like a first collection 2006 to 2009 like collective album in 2018, which I've seen before, and it kind of looks like it's the same album art except that it has like a filter on it.
Yeah, isn't it like bluish?
It's like new. It's gold.
Oh, it's gold. Okay, so cut that out too, because I actually don't know anything
when you
about
know.
Fleet
Yeah.
Foxes.
Well, anyways, but I did want to talk about Bon Iver, which for me, I'm not sure about you, but he's definitely up there for who I listen to, which is interesting because the first time he was ever mentioned to me, I think I was a sophomore in high school. My friend Lily, who will be on the podcast eventually, I thought it was so bad. Like,
Okay.
I don't even think I lied. I was like, this is horrible. And I think because it was at the time, I was probably listening to like top 50 pop, which is fine. I don't listen to that anymore. I used to. So like listening to like Bon Iver, who's like, how do you explain what he does?
Well, I think he does his best to say words in English, but make it so indecipherable that you can't actually tell if it is English.
No, you have no idea.
Yeah, it's very discordant.
So
And it's very chaotic.
yeah, I don't even like, because it's so like, I don't even know, and he's been around for a really long time. When was his first album? 2008.
Yes.
So
For Emma.
for Emma was 2000. Wasn't it Bon Iver first? It was
Yes.
Bon Iver then for Emma.
Oh my God. Okay. You're going to have to
Are we
make
gonna
so many
cut that out
cuts.
too? So, but technically, on Spotify, he's a 7.9 for popularity out of 10.
Okay. I didn't know that Spotify ranked artists on how popular they were.
Well, Spotistats does.
Oh, Spotistats.
Yeah.
That's like a little, that app is like unofficial.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think Spotify.
I use it
likes
as
that app.
I
I
use it
feel
as
like-
official data
Okay.
because you actually never. I requested to have you as a friend and you rejected it.
Okay.
But I can
because-
still see, so it's fine.
Okay. Great.
Anyways, yeah, but because I think he's a little bit more indie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like to have that discussion, you have to sort of think about, like, what's
indie?
So indie is, I mean, indie stands for independent. So the whole point of indie is that it's like, I mean, it's supposed to be synonymous with sort of like do it yourself. Like indie, I just put my ring down
That
and
was
it
so
clunked.
loud.
I'm sorry. Indie's supposed to be DIY. Like you produce it yourself. You're not part of a record label, which for example is why Folklore, Taylor Swift's album Folklore, people have been calling it indie, but like if you go by the strict definition of indie, it cannot be that because she already has the resources that like she's not a small up and coming band. So
She's not
she's not. She has up and came already. She's here. Like
to stay, apparently.
So indie folk is like you've got traditional folk or you've got the traditional folk sounds, the guitar, the banjo ? And then you also want to combine it with those more like modern sounds of weird computer manipulation or just like I don't want to say techno because please don't think I'm talking about techno music.
I don't really love
but,
techno.
like, yeah,
I don't know if there's going to be an episode of techno on this podcast
Well, no, apparently there is right now.
right now.
Yeah. You should make a Patreon and do like bonus episodes that people have to pay for. And one of them is going to be techno, except we talk about it and neither of us have ever listened to techno. So we just make stuff up.
I'm going to be honest with you. I can't make money on my senior project.
Okay, so I will be starting a Patreon.
Okay. Can I run the podcast? Can I wear the headphones?
You can wear the headphones because she looks really silly in the headphones.
Yeah, I know no one can see because we don't have cameras, thank God. But I'm wearing headphones, and I think that it makes me better.
I'll take a picture, and if anybody wants to reach out
on the Patreon.
this picture will be posted on the Patreon so we can make money.
Oh, okay.
And I'm getting proceeds because I came up with the idea of this being a for-profit organization.
But if we make money, we can't be considered. If we like produce that, we can't be considered indie, right? Because you just said we can't.
Well, are we producing it ourselves or going through a label? Because if we're not going through a big label,
It is
then
indie.
We
Then
actually
we're
are
indie.
indie. This is the next indie podcast. We are so indie.
I don't even think there's a category for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
We just made one.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Do
we're
we
gonna.
count as rap since we're like talking? We're not really singing.
I don't think so.
Indie rap.
Could we get Eminem on the podcast?
Ooh. Can we get Eminem and the girl Eminem on the podcast?
Like the
Like-
brown one?
Yeah, the brown one. Because you know how it's like a whole hot topic that she used to be like,
Yeah.
and now she's not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's actually, we can have 4 guests on my podcast.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so basically the vision of this podcast just evolved.
From folk music to now having Eminem in the girl Eminem.
Here to talk about techno.
Oh, we're talking about, and we're gonna
And you
make
have to pay for it.
we're gonna make money off of
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
We're gonna be loaded.
And on my way, here it comes, the big parade. Marching bands and barricades make way for the big parade. Oh,
So there's another big, huge kind of thing, more geared towards a band we haven't talked about. Do you want to guess?
The Lumineers.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, because I love the Lumineers, and I know you love the Lumineers.
I do know that because we're actually going to go see the Lumineers together.
Right.
We're also going to go see Bon Iver together.
Right.
We're also going to go see Caamp together. All of these
No, we're
tickets.
not. Oh,
Caamp is opening for the Lumineers, which
You're
is
right.
so exciting.
you're right, because they're indie and not techno.
I think they're folk.
Oh, wait, they're not indie. Sorry.
Yeah. Get your genres straight.
Sorry. We're going to talk about the revival of like folk Americana music because I put it in quotes because it says it and I'm like, I don't know what that is. But the Lumineers and Mumford and Sons are big ones for like 2010s. Basically,
How is Mumford and Sons folk Americana when they're actually from the UK?
that's what it said.
Okay. Who's it? Google?
My searches.
Okay. Sorry.
Because-
continue.
I just looked up an article about it. Well, first of all, if you were to try to like, I know I just like threw that at you, but like if you were to try to come up with what that is, what do you think it is?
Okay. I think I'm not really going to hit the nail on the head here, so I'm just going to talk blindly into the void and see what comes up. Because I feel like when I think about the Lumineers, sort of a common theme throughout their albums, especially I think the earlier ones, which to me scream more Americana. Like when I think of Americana, I think of their song Big Parade. And to me, they seem almost a little critical and a little sarcastic of America and like American life.
Well, coming from me, the music expert, I think there's a lot of like attempts to define it as I'm looking it up right now. Like there's not really someone who clearly defines what it is because it's a little bit made up. Well, all of the genres are a little bit made up and that's why there are a lot of subcategories, but it says, this is a really great way to put it. I think it says, so ... is it country ? Indie country ? Alt country ? Or is it just Americana? Because like I kind of understand the country part of it because it's a little bit like, because I think some people consider like banjo guitar combo country music, which I disagree with. I feel like country music is what the lyrics are and the tone it's like being sung in. And I don't think that the Lumineers or Mumford and Sons or any other band like them has anything to do with country music.
Yeah, because I also think that country music has to do with the content, like what they are singing about. And the content of the Lumineers songs, they are very different from what you would think of a typical country song. And I say this as somebody who's an avid not listener of country music. Like
I also am an avid,
not listener, the opposite of
almost
listener.
a hater.
Almost a hater.
Like a little bit.
Yes. I'm at least very condescending towards people who listen to country music, and I'm really sorry for that because I think country is a very respectable genre. I just don't like it. So I'm gonna make extreme generalizations about country music, and you have to take it with a grain of salt because I don't like it. But I feel like country music is very much about pickup trucks. That's it. That's a common motif.
Pickup trucks and girls.
Pickup trucks and girls. Yes. And then you get back into the Lumineers and how they can be a little bit cynical and a little, like, they poke fun at typical, like, American ideals that we promote, especially in that song that I had mentioned, Big Parade, where basically they spend the whole time making fun of, you know, the, like, political figures and the 4th of July and, like, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a lot more depth to that content than there is to country music when you talk about your big red F-150 and the tires of your big red F-150 and your beer.
The bed of the truck.
Yes.
Yes.
So many things happen in the bed of the truck.
Stop. Nothing happens. I think the Lumineers are an interesting one because they are kind of like known a little bit more for a lot of people. I was texting someone yesterday that was a possible roommate, and they were like, what do you listen to? Well, I was like, what do you listen to? And they're like, pop. And I'm like, shoot, I gotta come up with like a good way to make myself not seem like a little bit of like a nerd or like a banjo lover, even though I am. So like I kind of had to be like, I listen to folk music. I think I said indie. I think I said indie because that was more like okay.
Yeah,
to
for
say.
some reason I think that indie is a little more acceptable with teenagers because it's a little bit more,
it's like
late
cooler.
2000s. Yeah, it's a little cooler.
And like folk music technically isn't that cool because it's like my dad listens to folk music.
Yeah, like I said, my dad indoctrinated me into folk music.
Chris listens to folk music.
Which isn't to say he's not cool.
I think he's super cool.
I think Chris is super cool. He has cowboy boots.
That's country. We're not talking about country music.
They're folk cowboy boots.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. If he doesn't drive a truck, he drives a Subaru.
He does drive
for anyone
a Subaru.
who wants to know.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're safe.
And it has a bumper sticker of a frisbee on the back of it.
Exactly.
Also a bumper sticker that says Northern Iron because he's from Northern Ireland and he thinks that
that's funny.
If people understand what that abbreviation is.
I think it's funny.
Yeah, I'm laughing.
Okay, what I was going to talk about before we talked about cowboy boots was that the Lumineers' first album was in 2012, which I was in 2nd grade. You also were in 2nd grade.
I will fully own up to being in 2nd grade.
I was 7 for a majority of that year. So I remember like kind of hearing like, because they were, I feel like one of the first few songs that I remember hearing. Like, I mean, Ho Hey is their most popular song. And it's lasted. Like, that's still like...
It has lasted, and it's still a good song.
It's still a good song. And I'm usually someone who... I'm not trying to say, like, I'm different. Because I think that's stupid. But, like...
She's not like other girls.
No, but, like, that's stupid to say. But, like, that's a song where it's the best one. And it obviously... Well, it's the most popular one. And I still think it's really good. I don't think... Like, I think there's some albums that have, like, their most popular song and it's overplayed. But you can't really overplay the Lumineers because they're popular, but they're not like mega popular. You know?
I mean, on the scale, I feel like they do have to be. I feel like their popularity rating on Spotistats has got to be more than a 7.9.
Should we check?
Yes, we should check. But again, I feel like it comes back to the idea that what's big in folk music is still not
never
big relative to
it's
what's
never
big
gonna
in music.
scratch the surface of like what actually is. Yes. Like it's never gonna be a top 10 unless it's a well-known band like the Lumineers.
Yeah. Which I do feel like the Lumineers could be the band to break that. Like I think that if any folk artist was to like put themselves consistently in like basically I feel like the mark of a folk artist being really famous is that they break into the pop world just by being so famous.
But then don't you think
like
that
you'll hear Ho Hey on the radio if you listen to the radio, which is like the Lumineers just broke into the pop world. But still on Spotify, they only have 14 million listeners, which is a lot, absolutely. But if you compare it to, for example, Khalid, we'll compare it to Khalid.
This is funny.
Who's been around for not as long.
2014, right? Or 16?
2017.
Okay.
Khalid started in 2017 versus 2012. And he has less content out, but he has 43 million listeners compared to 14. So almost 4 times. No, almost exactly 3 times. I didn't come here to do math. Okay. We're talking about music. But so even what is big in the folk world still doesn't have as much pull as what's big in the pop world.
No, and I also think too when they as in like folk or in like folk indie, whatever it is, folk something, when they end up becoming more popular, what tends to happen, I think, is that they turn a little bit more into pop because they realize that they make more money that way. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a little bit like what Taylor Swift did. She had country music and she realized that she was making bank off of country music, but the amount of money she could make off of doing pop music, because it is more generic. Like it's more like what people want for the, like, I guess most people. Like for me, if she made country music, I don't think I'd be listening to her as much as I do. I feel like that happens for most people. Mm-hmm. But the Lumineers, like they're a little bit more like folk pop. I think technically that's what they might be.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. And especially the difference between their first album and their most recent albums. I think they get more poppy. They get less of the characteristic like folk sounds. I don't know if did they ever have a banjo?
Yes.
But they don't really it doesn't really feature as much in their most recent album.
For anybody who's never like had a favorite band or like artist to like made in a studio, I guess, like a little bit more homemade music, you need to watch them
a little more homemade, like
on YouTube, or like at least like if you can't watch them live, like at least try to watch like a video of them playing, because it's like kind of like a crazy experience. Mm-hmm. Like to be able to like watch the Lumineers do what they normally do and realize that a lot of the sounds they have are like organic. Like it's not made.
That's a good word. Organic. Like folk is very organic. And then even going back to that thing about indie folk, I think that indie folk can tend to be a little less organic and a little more studio influence.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's more of a creative combination of sounds in the production. So I think that with the Lumineers, they could get up and play a show without needing any sort of computer background, whereas Bon Iver could not get up and play a show without and sound authentically like his songs. He could get up and play a show because he's an amazing singer. I'm saying he could get up and play a show and sound like an amazing singer.
Let's also mention that he's not a he; it's a band.
Okay, I just think of the name Bon
Justin
Iver as a
Vernon
name.
Is a person.
I know Okay, fine. Justin Vernon of Bon Iver.
That's gonna be good when you scream into the mic. I can.
I'm not gonna do it, but I could do it. I have so much power. Bon Iver could get up and play a show, and they would be very good. However, they would, to sound authentically like the songs that they have released on Spotify, they would need a computer in the show to create those sounds, because there's a lot of computer manipulation of the studio sounds.
I agree, but only with their top few albums, because I'm going to plug this, and this is a different episode, but that they have a group of videos on YouTube called A Takeaway Show. They're also on SoundCloud so you can listen to them like without having your phone open.
Yes.
And they are like,
they have a side hustle of SoundCloud.
They are a religious experience. And a lot of artists have something like that, like some sort of live performance that you can find. I just think that like I couldn't imagine what he sounded like or what he did or what they did in the band for a lot of their like older songs. Like for Emma and Bon Iver, those 2 albums, I couldn't understand what the sounds were.
I agree.
I didn't know. I was like, I don't know.
Comprehension.
And then you watch and he's sitting, Justin Vernon is sitting there with a guitar.
And you're like, what? What do you mean?
He hasn't balded yet. He has full hair. You're like, oh my God, it's from like 2008. He's in France in like a random person's apartment, looks like. And he's like playing a guitar that probably has like 2 strings on it. It looks like it's broken. Like the things he plays on and the stuff he does with it is crazy.
Sometimes they just beat wooden boxes.
Or like toys.
There's one where they have a wooden rocking horse and they like make music with it in France. And you're like, what just happened?
You're like, how?
With this, like, what?
Okay, we're going to stop talking about Bon Iver because I feel bad.
Lily. Sorry, Lily.
We're going to go into depth. It's fine. Okay. For anyone who loves Bon Iver, don't worry. I got you.
That episode will be free of charge.
Are we going to put it on Patreon?
No, we'll let
Techno?
We'll let the Bon Iver episode be free of charge, but I think that we should definitely make the techno episode with Eminem and the Eminem.
I wanted to talk about these 2 specific artists that are very similar to me. They might be different for you because you've listened to them for longer than I have.
Okay.
But Gregory Alan Isakov and Ray LaMontagne Jr. Is it Jr. at the end? Is there a Jr. there?
No.
I thought
not
there
that
was.
I was aware of.
Yeah, I think I made that up.
But not on his Spotify name.
I made it up.
He could be the second.
Okay. Let's talk about them though.
Yes, let's talk about
Who do you like better?
Wow.
Shoot. Let's start a fight. Because I have a favorite.
I know you have a favorite, and I know who your favorite is.
But maybe because of exposure. Anyways. Go.
I think that it's really difficult for me to pick a favorite because I really do love both of them so much, and also they are associated a lot for me. Well, first of all, because they're solo artists. They're it's just them. Yeah. It's like Gregory Alan
not
Isakov
a band.
Or Ray LaMontagne. They're not a band, so they have a little bit of a different sound from the Lumineers. Gregory Alan Isakov has to be my favorite, or at least who I listen to more than I listen to Ray LaMontagne. But every time I listen to Ray LaMontagne, I am blown away also by the content of his music, because I think that the material he writes about, or his subject matter, is just really, really interesting, because his music is frequently about his journey with like drug and alcohol abuse. Yeah. And so it's very raw. Like it is very raw. I think it's funny. I think the word raw is used a lot for music. So I don't want, because I think it's like an overused adjective when you.
But I think folk music's a good example of it, because I'm sorry, but I don't think like Ariana Grande is like raw. Like
she's a little more smooth.
I don't.
She's a little more sleek.
I don't really find her like compelling in that way.
Right.
There's going to be so much artist shaming on this podcast.
Yeah, I think that we're elitists when it comes to music.
Like this is going to be bad. And
I think
every time I'm going to be in the right.
Okay.
Like I'm going to make myself think that.
Okay.
Which I think's bad and a bias that you don't want to have.
Yeah.
But anyways.
There's going to be a lot of fighting in the Patreon comments.
The Patreon? What do we name the Patreon? What do I name? You're not part of it.
You can be part of it. I am part of it.
Fine.
Because you can't make money off of this, but I can.
Then you can just like transfer the money to me through like a separate foreign bank account.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, stop.
We'll talk later. But yeah, so I think I love them both, and I do listen to Gregory Alan Isakov more, but I have a special respect for Ray LaMontagne's music.
I have interesting facts about them.
Okay. I would love to hear them.
It's a big fact, which I didn't think was possible, but Gregory Alan Isakov, who is my favorite, who also quickly is my all-time, what do we think? All-time third most listened to artist. He has 2.8 million listeners, monthly listeners, where Ray LaMontagne minus the junior F doesn't exist. He has 3.2 million monthly listeners. Mm-hmm. And I just don't understand. I don't get that fact. I feel like it's not fair.
Well, so Ray LaMontagne released his first album in 2004. And that album was a very good album.
Yeah.
No, wait. I swear to God that he released one in the 90s. Did he not?
Maybe?
Sorry, he didn't. He didn't. Ray LaMontagne's first album was in 2004. When was Gregory Alan Isaacov's first album?
One of the best albums ever. Let's look. 2009.
So he's got a 5-year jump. And also his first album, really fantastic. It really was. Like, I think no skips on that album. And it also had some of his most popular songs. I think that Jolene is one of his most popular songs.
Yeah.
It's not Jolene by Dolly Parton. It's a different Jolene. And I also think Trouble and Hold You in My Arms.
I love Trouble. I think that's so good.
Trouble is such a good
It's
song.
so good.
I also think Shelter, which comes right after Trouble in the
also
lineup,
really good.
that's such a good 1-2 punch.
It
That's
is.
how you start the album off, and it's like, wow. Yeah.
And I will shelter you. I will shelter you.
I'm looking at this Empty Northern Hemisphere, which, like, oh my gosh, it's so good. Like, I don't think I have any skips. I listen to that. I mean, I think it's unfortunate because I've told people I listen to that album. And first of all, most of the time people don't know what it is. Second of all, my sister told me I listened to sad poetry club music with that album, which is mean because it's so good. I've listened to that full album, like, going to bed. I've listened to it studying. I've listened to it in the car for no reason. Like, it's so amazing. And I think that my favorite 2 songs are got to be, which maybe are your 2 favorites, are going to be Big Black Car and Evelyn.
Well, time has a way of throwing it all in your face. The past, she is haunted, the future is laced. Heartbreak, you know, drives a big black car. I swear I was in the backseat, just minding my own.
So my favorite 2 songs on that album are...
And this Empty Northern Hemisphere. That the title track is good.
Yeah, so we have the same top 3 songs. Those are the top 3 songs. I also think Idaho and If I Go, I'm Going are really good honorable mentions.
I also love Dandelion Wine.
Yeah.
And Virginia May. Well, now I could just say all of them.
Again, no skips.
Not a skip to be seen.
Yeah.
Like, not even one.
But I will play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Because I think you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I do.
Which is that I think that See the Gambler is my favorite album by him, not this Empty Northern Hemisphere. And again, it's difficult because I'm making the comparison between, like, one of my top 10 favorite albums of all time and one of my top 5 favorite albums of all time.
What?
So it's like...
Wait, there's no way. There's no way this Empty Northern Hemisphere is top 10.
It would probably be, like, top 6.
You have 4 albums that you like better than that?
So there's 5 that come before 6.
Whatever.
I mean, probably yes.
Oh my God.
But I it's difficult, and I do rotate. Maybe not. Maybe we're talking top 5 versus top 3.
Okay.
But my point is that both of these are some of my favorite albums ever. But I just think that for me, that See the Gambler is so good.
No, I agree with you. I love that album as well. I think I have a few skips, unfortunately.
And there can be some skips. The Moon Was Red and Dangerous and Raising Cain are perhaps the Moon Was Red and Dangerous isn't even a skip.
I don't like Raising Cain that much.
Is honestly not my favorite song.
Yeah.
But it's also different from the rest of his music because it gets a little more into what I think folk music would have sounded like when we were talking like mouth to mouth singing around a campfire.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But I also think that the order of this album, like the track listing, is so deliberate and so good.
It's pretty good.
It's mind-blowing.
But I think it's interesting to put Black and Blue before San Francisco.
I think that he did that to shake people up a little bit.
It shakes you a little bit.
Because All There Is in San Francisco, to me, I could listen to those 2 songs and they blend together so well that, like, I could, if I zoned out, I wouldn't notice when they transitioned. All There Is in San Francisco. So I think that putting Black and Blue before San Francisco putting 2 songs in between All There Is in San Francisco was to give them their own separate identities.
Okay.
That's my argument.
I think my favorite 2 songs. I know we're going to disagree, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I love Unwritable Girl.
I knew you were going to say that.
I love that song.
It's a really good song.
Even though I think my first song that I ever listened to him ever, before you ever mentioned him to me, because you mentioned him to me and then I really started listening to him, but it was San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way that song's better than Unwritable Girl. Okay. But I still love San Francisco a lot, and I love All There Is.
Mm-hmm. So my favorite songs from that album have to be, one of them has to be the title track. That's the Gambler.
Yeah, okay.
Such a good song.
Yeah.
And I think I have a really difficult time. I mean, first of all, I really like 3 a.m. I also really like All There Is.
I also like Salt in the Sea.
I also do.
But it's weird because
again, we're getting into naming every single song.
Every time I listen to that song, I think of that weird, you know that album? I'm going to find it. Where it's like, it was crazy the first time I found it because it was like Lumineers, Gregory Alan Isakov.
The Cave.
Yeah. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Because like, what the hell is that?
But that's not the same Salt in the Sea, because that's Salt in the Sea by the Lumineers,
so performed
by Gregory Isakov.
I know, because every time I think of that song, that's
this is such a weird crossover.
Because I found the album and I was like,
should we give context? So basically,
what's the context?
Basically, Gregory Alan Isakov has a song called Salt in the Sea. Mm-hmm. And the Lumineers have a song called Salt in the Sea. They're 2 different songs. But then there's this album that's basically a collaboration between a bunch of folk artists where they sing each other's music.
That like we've talked about here. And we all, the 2 of us personally have like up there in our top ever. And they all sing each other's songs.
Yeah. And in it, Gregory Alan Isakov sings Salt in the Sea by the Lumineers. So Gregory Alan Isakov has 2 songs titled Salt in the Sea, but one of them is his and one of them is the Lumineers. And the one by the Lumineers is frankly better, and I won't take nuance on that. Yeah, like the song written by the Lumineers is a better song.
I haven't listened to it in so long.
But it's so amazing when Gregory Alan Isakov performs it.
I'll be your friend in the daylight again. There we will be, like an old down to me, like the salt down the sea.
What if they all went on tour?
You should really listen. They are going on tour.
All of them.
All the artists in the collaboration. Yeah.
Like if they all, because.
What's it called? It's called Americana. That's what it's called.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then I think I just called it The Cave because that's one of the songs on it. But it's called Americana.
Why can I not find it? It's called
Salt
Caves.
in the Sea
it's called
by
Caves.
the Lumineers by Gregory Alan Isakov is such a good song. No, that's one of the songs on it.
It's called Americana.
That's funny.
It's literally called Americana.
But basically, there's some other artists featured on this, which I don't think we're going to have time to talk about, but Shaky Graves is on
Mount
this.
Mount
Joy is on this.
I don't think they're folk, though, so it's okay.
You could argue that Shaky Graves was Mount Joy. You can't.
Wild Child.
The Wild Reeds.
Everyone's so wild.
Everyone's so wild. But the best song on this album.
Salt in the Sea by Gregory Alan Isakov.
Yes, written by the Lumineers.
It's really good. And Caves by Lumineers. That's also good. I thought that was actually an original Lumineers song.
Also, Tea, Milk, and Honey by Angie McMahon.
That's also good.
On the album. Really good song, and I listen to that song a lot. But we don't have time to talk about that song.
Okay, I have 2 more questions. Okay. And then we can get to the Patreon, after hours of the podcast.
Is there going to be a music outro to this? Because you should make it like one of the songs discussed. You know how there's normally an outro in podcasts?
Can you stop trying to take ideas? Because I have another one that I haven't told you about. So just sit there and be calm. Okay, my first question. Second to last question. That was a funny noise. Second to last question of the day is if you had to have a top 3, like in quotes, like folk music, it can you can choose 3 albums or no, you're gonna actually choose 3 artists. Who are you gonna choose? You only have 3 and it doesn't have to be in order.
3 artists.
Yeah.
Gregory Alan Isakov, This is not in order. Don't make me try to sort these.
No, I'm not.
Gregory Alan Isakov, Caamp, Mumford and Sons.
Ooh.
I'm leaving out the Lumineers.
See, like, I just can't do that to myself.
I know. And I know that I said that very calmly. I delivered that. Like, I
You
delivered
did.
that coldly, but it caused me a lot of inner turmoil.
I can tell.
Yeah, I tried to hide it from the mic, though.
Because you'll probably be talking about it for, like, the next week.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm going to have to make revisions to that list, like, every day based on my mood. But for right now, and I can only speak for myself for the next 5 minutes in the past 10 minutes, Caamp, Gregory Alan Isakov, and Mumford and Sons.
Okay. I'm going to go now.
Okay.
Is Wild Rivers folk?
They're like
We didn't even
pop
talk about
indie
them.
folk.
Never mind. We don't need to.
We went to
Wild Rivers
a
concert was really good.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And they're really great. And they kind of seem like a newer band, but I love them.
Yeah.
A lot.
And their song Safe Flight is really good, and it's been on repeat for me, but it's really sad. Also, Corey Harper is really good. He opened for them.
Yeah. And he had, what was he wearing?
He was wearing
Really?
Carhartt
Yeah.
jeans.
Really? They were pants.
He was wearing
Carhartt pants. Anyways.
And a really good jacket. Remember?
Okay, you can stop having a crush on him now.
I did have a crush on him.
And
I
we're
was like,
gonna
whoa.
and I'm gonna say I'm gonna say my 3,
Okay.
which aren't gonna differ much from you, but that's okay. I'm gonna say in no particular order, the Lumineers, Gregory Alan Isakov, and Mumford and Sons.
That's interesting.
I can't put Caamp before the Lumineers. It's impossible.
I thought you were going to put Caamp before Mumford and Sons.
Well, no one's. Oh, really?
I
Oh
thought
no,
you were
I
gonna
think
do
they're
that.
no. I mean, "So Long, Honey" again. I'll say it one more time. Like one of my favorite songs ever. But in general, Mumford and Sons has a few more better ones that I like.
Okay. Interesting.
My last question, which is
Yes.
like literally the same question, just in a different format, is that someone came up with this really good idea. My mentor, Miss
Okay.
Brox. Hope you're watching, listening. You
I
can't
hope
watch
you're
this.
watching. Miss Brox, I'm going to your alma mater. Is that how you pronounce it, alma mater? Or
No,
is it alma mater? Like
no,
toe mater?
Mater.
Mater? Like toe
Actually,
mater?
I have no.
I said that twice and you only picked up on it the second time.
I have no idea. Anyways,
We'll leave that. I'll find out once I actually get to Smith.
okay. Anyways, I'm gonna ask you to pick. Let's do 5. You need 5 songs, folk songs particularly, that you would like to add to a cumulative playlist of Queue Anonymous.
Okay. Not QAnon.
Stop. We might have to
Okay.
air this episode after first because we can't have this controversy.
Okay, so my first one, because we just talked about it and we both plugged it, is going to be Salt in the Sea by the Lumineers, performed by Gregory Alan Isakov. There's just so much there that's like right in the middle of the Venn diagram of the Lumineers and Gregory Alan Isakov and everything, and it's awesome.
Okay.
My second song is going to be Evelyn by Gregory Alan Isakov. Oh, he's getting overrepresented already. You might have to take that one off.
Why?
Because I can't have him sing more than one song.
Just do the other ones, then
Okay.
we'll choose.
My
You'll
next
choose.
one will be Leader of the Landslide by the
Oh,
Lumineers.
shoot.
Then I'm going to do Iffy by Caamp.
Okay. You have one more.
I might have 2 more because I might take off Evelyn.
Okay.
I'm going to do...
You know what? You can have 6.
Thank you.
We can do 12 because I'm gonna
Thank you.
add 6.
I'm going to do Below My Feet, live from Red Rocks by Mumford and Sons. For the last one, I'm going to do Jolene by Ray LaMontagne.
Okay.
Do you get to add to the cumulative playlist?
Yeah, I get to add 6
Okay.
because no playlist has 6.
I get 6 because I'm the first one to come on here.
Everyone's now gonna get 6.
You suck.
Classy Girls. Is it girls or girl? I
Classy.
think it's girl.
It doesn't matter.
By Lumineers.
Okay.
So Long, Honey. Which you didn't even add. Little
I
hard.
know because
It's okay.
I've been
Whatever.
listening
No,
to
it's
Iffy
fine.
a lot
No,
recently,
it's fine.
Even
Whatever,
though I think
man.
So Long Honey's probably one of the best songs in
Whatever.
the whole world. It is. It truly is.
Dead Sea. Oh man, Lumineers is getting a lot of space in my list. I got 2 more.
Lot of airtime.
I'm gonna do.
Are you going to put a Bon Iver song on there? Because I didn't. So it's your responsibility. Because we haven't we never conclusively decided if he was folk or not.
We're leaving it up to everyone.
We're leaving it up to the listeners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. I'll add one Bon Iver. I'll do Blood Bank Live.
Okay, that's a good one.
I'll go with My Eyes by Lumineers.
I also think an honorable mention should be Gale Song by the Lumineers.
Really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So wait, can you read the final list?
Okay, fine.
Just
I'm
because
also
I
going to put
just-
it on. I'm going to
yeah.
put it on Spotify near where I end up putting this podcast too. So it's the
Oh,
same
cute.
thing. Thank you.
We're interactive.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the playlist will be on the Patreon.
We're also going to put the link to the Patreon that we aren't going to have. Well, underground. Okay, ready? Salt in the Sea. On the album
Performed-
Americana.
Yes.
Kinda. Americana. Evelyn, Leader of a Landslide. Iffy, Below My Feet. Live from Red Rocks. Jolene. Then we're going to have Classy Girl, Big Black Car, So Long Honey, Dead Sea, Blood Bank Live, In My Eyes. That's pretty good.
That's a pretty good playlist.
It's going to be hard to beat that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're going to wrap this podcast up because you've been here for a really long time. Thank you for coming on my podcast. Maybe you can come on again if I have extra time. I'm not sure.
That was a really enthusiastic invitation.
Do you not want to?
I want to. You were like, I guess maybe you can come back.
Okay, stop. Thank you for being the first episode of Queue Anonymous, even though you don't love my name as much as I think you should.
No, I do. I truly do love it. I just think it's funny that it has
This
political
has
undertones.
This has been my first episode of Queue Anonymous about folk music.